Pleasant good morning to all and best wishes for the new year.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners, and many happy returns from those of us at the bar.
Thank you.
Commissioners, we have Mr. Leslie James, who is the former Commissioner of Police of the Guyana Police Force, who has come to the Commission in answer to someone served on him and sent on behalf of the Commission. So he is here and he wishes to testify.
Thank you. Let him come
Do we have a statement from Mr. J?
We don't, and I will leave that material in it.
Good morning, sir. Do you swear to speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do swear, certainly not.
Mr. James, someone was served on you yesterday,
That's correct, sir.
and I take it that you agreed to come to testify on your own volition.
On my own volition. That's correct.
Thank you. At the material time, that is to say, March 2020, you held the office of Commissioner of Police.
Yes, during the month of March in the year 2020, indeed I was a Commissioner of Police in the state of Guyana.
And all the ranks fell under you.
By virtue of my office,
Yes.
on this section, on the chapter 16:101, section 6.1, I've had general command and superintendence of the Guyana Police Force.
And that includes specifically what we call it tactical squad, is it? That's the term used?
Well, the tactical services unit, if it's the unit you refer
Yes.
to, that also come under my purview.
Thank you.
Well,
So would you state your name?
I'm Leslie Albert James.
And would you state your address?
I reside at lot 453, Block X, Liliendal, Greater Georgetown, Guyana, South America.
In March of 2020, were you the Commissioner of Police of the Guyana Police Force?
That is correct also.
In March 2020, how long had you held that position?
I held that position as Commissioner until my retirement in July of that very year.
Okay, what I'm asking you is for how long had you been Commissioner of Police in 2020?
How long I've been Commissioner
How
of Police
long
in
have you
2020?
been Commissioner of Police?
How long did you hold office as Commissioner of Police?
Approximately 2 years.
2 years.
Because I have been appointed Commissioner of Police on the 30th day of August in 2018.
Thank you. Now, you have come here in answer to a summons which was served on you.
That's correct.
And if you see the summons which you received, will you be able to identify it?
I can.
I'm going to ask that the document be shown to you. Can you indicate whether that is a copy of the document served on you?
Indeed, this is the document. Understood.
Might this be admitted and marked as LJ1? You attended at the Secretariat this morning in answer to that summons.
Yes, I did.
and you agreed to speak to me as counsel of the commission,
Yes, I did.
counsel to the commission. You were asked whether you wish to give a statement to the commission,
Yes, I was so asked.
and what was your response?
I indicated I would like to give a statement, but not in writing.
And you were asked whether you wish to testify before the commission,
I was so asked, yes.
and what did you respond?
I said yes.
You were told that you were entitled to consult an attorney at law,
I was so told, yes.
and you were also told that you could have an opportunity to take a reasonable amount of time to consult such an attorney at law.
I was told that as well.
And what was your response?
And I waived that and I said I wish to testify at once.
Now, your attention was brought to the evidence of two persons who testified before this commission, correct?
Correct.
One of those persons being a police officer by the name of Mills,
Correct.
and you were told that he testified on the 5th of December 2022.
Correct.
And you were also told about the testimony of an officer by the name of Edgar Thomas,
Correct.
who testified on the 4th of the 11th, 2022.
That's correct.
Your attention was brought to the portions of the transcripts of the evidence of these two witnesses,
Correct.
and you were asked questions about what was contained therein,
I were asked questions, yes.
and you were shown portions of the transcripts that you wish to see.
Correct.
Now, let us go first to Mr. News. Mr. News, you have been advised, said that he received instructions from you on the 5th of March 2020. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And he said, acting on those instructions, he deployed a unit to go to the Brickdown police station.
Correct.
And he says that the Guyana Police Force had what is called a public order unit,
That is true.
and it also had a tactical services unit.
That's also true.
Now, I want to ask you, did it have a special branch?
Yes, there is a special unit or department in the Ghana Police Force referred to as special branch.
And are all these units external to the ranks under the respective commanders of the districts?
In a general way, yes, but because of for operational purposes, they will also have the presence of ranks in various divisions across the country.
Understood. Now, Mr. Nurse said that he had received instructions from you for the TSU to go to Ashman's building to assist in securing it on the afternoon or the evening of the 5th of March 2020. What do you say?
That is correct.
And he said his instructions were to go to Ashman's building to deal with a situation.
That is true.
And he said that he understood that securing the building and vacating the building were two different things.
Of course, generally there are two different things, vacate and secure, two different
And he said that his understanding of the instructions from you was that he was to secure the building.
That's correct.
I have to ask you this. As Commissioner of Police, were you aware that members of your Tactical Services Unit took steps to clear the building?
Yes, I did. I saw footage, subsequent footage, where, from what I've seen, the officer who would be in charge or asking persons to leave.
Now, had you given instructions for the building to be cleared?
No, my general directive were that the officers should have the unit through its head and other ranks to report to the GCOM building, to report to the commander
So,
on the ground.
your instructions were for the officers from the Tactical Services Unit to go to speak to the commander on the ground at Ashman's building.
That's right.
And who was that person?
The commander at that time were Mr. Thomas.
Now, Mr. Nurse said that he had received a call from you sometime after 6, and this was when he had received the instructions to go to deal with the situation, that is to say, to secure the building.
Yes, from my general recollection, indeed I spoke with him on 2 occasions for him to have movement of the unit to go to the Ashman's.
When you say you later saw the video of TSU officers clearing the building, as Commissioner of Police, could you tell me what steps, if any, did you take to inquire into what had occurred?
I wasn't required to take any steps at that time because the video that I viewed, it was subsequent to the happening of what was actually done.
Did it come to, well, did you not realize that you had given instructions for the building to be secured, but what you saw on the video was police officers actually clearing the building?
Indeed, persons were being asked to leave.
Now, at that point, let me just go back a little bit. Before the elections of 2020, the Guyana Police Force had worked together with GCOM and other stakeholders to prepare for the general elections,
That is
correct?
so true, yes.
And is it correct to say that the point person from the GPF was Deputy Commissioner Maxine Brea?
That's true.
Now, on the 5th, did you receive any calls from any official at GCOM?
I have never received any call from any official from GCOM.
Did you receive any call from any GCOM commissioner?
Never.
So when you gave the instruction to Officer Nurse to go to Ashman's building on the 5th of March 2020 to secure the building, upon what information were you relying?
It was as a result of footage that was being shown on several television stations, national television stations that is across the country. It was as a result of information that were being fed to me, and also as a result of a conversation that I had via telephone with the then GCOM chair.
When did you speak to the GCOM chair?
After viewing a footage, and in addition, I tried making contact with the commander, because what I was seeing was clearly disordered, in my view. And I can also refer to it as mayhem, which was contrary to what was expected to be happening at that Chico location. So as a result of what I saw, also my discussion with the deputies and so on, we tried making contact with naturally we tried making contact with the commander, and he was not contactable. I tried using the radio set, and my efforts were futile in that regard as well, and as a result of that, I took other action.
I want to take you to the evidence of Officer Edgar Thomas, who testified before this commission on the 4th of November 2022. And prior to you going into the witness box today, your attention has been drawn to the testimony of Mr. Thomas, has it not?
It was done, yes.
And Mr. Thomas testified that he received several telephone calls from you on the 5th.
That is not true. Thomas was not contacted.
You're dropping your voice a little bit.
Mr. Thomas was not contactable.
Okay,
It's
now,
untrue for him to say that.
could I have some assistance? Because this witness is tall, if the mic could be raised up a little bit so the audio would benefit from that. No, just twist it up. Thank you. Now, Mr. Thomas testified that you spoke to him on the, not only did you speak to him on the phone, but you told him that people had to vacate Ashman's building.
That's not true.
Mr. Thomas testified that he received a telephone call from you and he brought you up to date as to what had been happening at Ashman's building. You were shown that record, not so?
Which record of information?
The transcript.
Oh yes. I was shown the record, but that's not true.
Okay.
For him to say that.
And Mr. Thomas testified that he had brought you up to date as to what had been happening at Ashman's building. What do you say?
That is not true as well.
And Mr. Thomas said that not only did he do that, but he told you that they were having an issue with the security of the statements of polls and other election-related materials.
That is not so.
Mr. Thomas testified that you were forcing the point that people must vacate the building. What do you say?
That is not so.
Mr. Thomas said that you were insisting that everyone except the special branch ranks should vacate the building.
That is not so. The presence of special branch ranks, they would have been the security detail for the chair of GIGA.
In fact, Mr. Thomas testified that he received more than one call from you on that evening about vacating of the building.
Calls were made to Mr. Thomas's number, but none of them were answered.
Now, is it correct to say that as Commissioner of Police, you are the person responsible for calling out the Tactical Services Unit?
That is part of my core for you, yes.
You said that you went on the radio to try to contact Mr. Thomas. Can you tell us, well, when was this?
It was after viewing what was being shown on the television and the reports I was having from the Deputy Commissioner of Operations, among other persons, other sources, I decided to take that action.
Now, you said, could you explain to us, when you say that you went on the radio, what is the protocol? What happens when the Commissioner of Police of the Guyana Defense Force,
Police force now.
sorry, police force, when such an office holder goes on the radio to address his officers, what's the protocol?
The protocol is the person will indicate his or her call sign. And dependent on the rank or appointment of that person, the officer in charge or the relevant officer on duty at the forces headquarters, they're expected to be monitoring those communications. And as I said, depending on the rank or appointment of the person who's making that communication, persons who might be using the network at the time might be asked to stand up to allow the communication. That is to say, in the case of myself as Commissioner of Police or any other senior person, dependent on the, as I said, the person's rank or appointment, the person who's in charge of the forces headquarters, they're expected to intervene in that regard.
Right, so
So-
essentially, let me
Yeah,
just
sure.
try to summarize it. Is it that when the commissioner goes to make a radio broadcast or to make a request, the radios, the
There's
system
radio
is
silence.
clear?
There's radio silence.
There's
yes.
radio
Or
silence
expected
from
radio
everybody
silence, yes.
else. Yes?
Correct. Because what if I
Just a
can?
second, the commissioner has a
Sorry.
question.
Mr. James, can I ask you, in relation to communication that passes from you to any other rank or person, is there a log or a record of this communication that has to be made?
The log or record will be made, or is it expected to be made at the force control. That office monitors and records all communication that takes place daily. There are also other units in the force that are also expected to be monitoring.
You would
those
expect that
communications.
a call from the Commissioner of Police, that is established procedure for the maintenance of the law, you would expect that to have happened.
To be recorded, correct? Yes, yes, sir.
So we can assume there is such a record of the radio transmission.
Should be, yes.
And what did you use to contact Mr. Thomas?
My first attempt, as I said earlier, were the radio network.
Yes.
And when my effort to contact him was futile, I tried the telephone.
Cellular or landline?
Cellular phones. As far as I remembered, I used both of my telephones, and I tried making contact with the number that I expected. In fact, I was communicating with him all along, prior to that date.
So the radio message was unanswered by him.
Clearly, even though the person who was in charge of the force control was trying to raise him as well, because that's the usual protocol,
And on your cellular phone there was no answer.
and there was no answer.
So did you ever speak with him on the 5th of March? That's Mr. Thomas.
I think, in all fairness, I think I did spoke to Thomas, but it was after the fact. You may hear later from while counsel might be asking me, but Thomas was eventually stood down based on his conduct, in my view. And as a result of that, his deputy, Mr. Azor, he was stood up as the acting commander. And as a result of that...
These were all personal decisions.
Personal in my capacity as Commissioner of Police.
But it couldn't be any other capacity.
Well, I'm just explaining
Yes.
this. And as a result of Mr. Azor being stood up, I think, and when he probably realized that, he probably then tried to make contact with me. But at no time did I spoke with him or speak with him. Because we already would have had someone functioning in the capacity of a commander.
Now, just to jump back a little bit, you told us that there had been preparations for the Guyana elections well before the 2nd of March 2020.
That is correct.
So, as Commissioner of Police, you are aware that GCOM had its own security.
Yes, as far as I remember, there was a private security.
Well, apart from the private security firm, GCOM had its own security.
Yes, I think they had an internal security and there was a chief of security as well, yes.
And on the 5th of March, there were officers at different points in time from the TSU, the Special Branch, and the Brickdom Police Station at Ashman's building. Do you agree?
In a general way, that answer should be yes, because that was so. But it might require some explanation in terms of the configuration.
Sure. So I want to ask you, let's break it down a little bit. When you say you saw mayhem on the TV screens and clearly your concerns,
Total disorder.
right, you saw mayhem and total disorder. Where was this?
That was at the Ashman's building, which is situated at High and Hatfield Streets, Georgetown.
And were you seeing this inside or outside of the building?
There were various footage being shown on national television by the various television stations. You could have seen footage from the entrance to or into Ashman. You were viewing footage, or footage was being shown with the inner part of the building with what was taking place. And based on what I view, I give directive for
Okay.
order to be restored.
Now, before you gave that directive, you said you had told us earlier that you hadn't spoken to anyone from GCOM. So did you speak or attempt to contact GCOM's head of security?
I personally did not attempt to contact GCOM's head, but I learned,
Just a second, one thing at a time.
yes.
Did you cause anyone to contact GCOM's head of security?
I didn't cause anyone, but because of the
Just a
role,
second, we have to make sure that we deal with one question and answer at a time, okay? And then we could clarify the other things. Did you attempt to contact anyone from the private security firm present at Ashman's building?
no, I personally did not.
Did you cause anyone to do so?
No.
Did you contact anyone from TSU at GCOM, at Ashman's building?
From the best of my recollection, no.
Did you cause anyone to do so?
No.
But an officer from TSU who testified before this commission, Mr. Nurse, said that he did contact you.
Mr. Nurse, by virtue of his position as OC Tactical Services Unit, referred to it acronym TSU, indeed he was in contact with me and I was in contact with him on at least 2 occasions.
Now, he said that he contacted you and told you that Davis had spoken to Thomas at Ashman's building. What do you say?
Yes, I think he did relay that information to me because he was expected to give me a feedback.
And
He did.
he said that, this is Mr. Nurse, Mr. Nurse told you that Thomas had said that he had been negotiating with persons on the ground as to the way forward.
Yes, I think he also mentioned that to me as well.
And Mr. Nurse said before this commission that you then said, okay, you will contact Mr. Thomas.
Correct.
And did you then contact Mr. Thomas?
Yes, I tried getting in touch with Mr. Thomas.
And were you successful?
I wasn't successful.
Well, then did you contact Mr. Nurse with whom you were in touch?
As I said, Nurse and I were having dialogue.
Right? So after you are trying to reach the commander and you are not getting him. But you know that nurses officers are in communication with him. Do you make attempts to speak to Thomas using nurse?
Nurse at the time was not at within A Division. Nurse was at police headquarters.
But
where
that's
I
not
was-
my question, sir. What I'm asking you is, nurse having established the communication link between the officers at Ashman's and yourself, having failed to reach Thomas yourself, according to you, did you try to reach him again through nurse?
It wasn't necessary at that time.
Why not?
Because a decision was made, I think by that time, that Mr. Thomas's deputy were to be in charge of the division because he was uncontacted.
Who made that decision?
I did as Commissioner of Police.
What time did you do that and on what date?
It would have been on the 5th. I do not recall the time, but if I'm shown a record, police record that is, I can say whether or not it's indeed at that time that decision.
Now, did you communicate that decision to Thomas?
There was no need for me to speak with Mr. Thomas directly because there is a Deputy Commissioner of Operations whose function also is to speak with commanders in that regard.
Okay. And did you instruct that deputy to speak with Mr. Thomas?
Yes, in all fairness, I do believe that I might have spoken to her.
Now, let's try to get specifics. Did you instruct that deputy, who you say had the responsibility to do such things? Did you instruct him to speak to Mr. Thomas?
I didn't instruct Deputy Commissioner of Operations to get in touch with Mr. Thomas.
Who was that person?
Deputy Commissioner of Police, Maxine Graham.
And did Ms. Graham tell you whether she did so?
I don't recall.
Now, from what...
May I also say something?
Just a second. Let's take it one thing at a time. Now, you said that you made this decision, essentially, to put the junior officer in charge at Ashman's building.
I wouldn't say junior officer because Mr. Azor is a senior officer and a capable officer.
Well, junior to the commander, wasn't he?
He was a deputy.
Right. Was a deputy junior to the commander?
I would prefer to say the deputy.
Okay. So there is no difference in rank between a commander and a deputy?
They were different because Thomas was an assistant commissioner at the time and Azor, I think, was a senior superintendent.
And then the police service is senior superintendent, junior, or senior to an assistant commissioner?
Junior.
Thank you. Now, from what you have told us, you took that decision to stand Thomas down, having seen television images, correct? At that point in time, you had had no complaint from GCOM, correct?
Not directly from GCOM, but I was having updates from the Deputy Commissioner of Operations.
I'm asking about GCOM. Did you have complaints from GCOM?
I have not spoken to any official from GCOM, save and except the occasion when I called the chair of GCOM.
Did you have any messages from GCOM with complaints about mayhem at Ashman's building?
I have not been contacted personally by anyone from GCOM, but I was receiving reports and updates of what were taking place.
Made by GCOM?
Possibly.
Not possibly, sir. You were the Commissioner of Police.
Of course I
You were
was.
the man in charge.
Yes.
Did you see or did you not see or receive reports from officials from GCOM?
I have not seen any report from any official from GCOM about complaints or reports.
Okay. Did you receive any reports from anyone at Ashman's building? And when I say you, I mean you as Commissioner and the Guyana Police Service about mayhem at Ashman's building.
As I said, I was receiving updates from
Will
the,
you answer my question?
could you repeat the question?
I'm asking whether you received any reports from anyone at Ashman's building, including your own officers.
No,
Of mayhem and so on and
no. The only reports I received were from the Deputy Commissioner of Operations.
Now you had a public order unit under the Guyana Police Force, not so?
That's correct.
Is there any reason why that unit was not deployed?
There was no need for public order because of the function of the public order unit. What was taking place were in an enclosed building, and in that regard, there was no need for the deployment of the public order unit.
Okay. Now, the tactical services unit, their responsibilities are heavier ones, correct?
Yes, it can be deemed to be heavy.
Because they are heavily armed personnel.
They are armed.
Did you receive reports of anybody armed at Ashman's building?
From what I have seen, there may have been persons who were armed in that building. From
You-
what I personally would have seen.
You saw videos of persons armed at that building, apart from police officers?
From what I have seen, I came to the conclusion that they may have had persons who were present there who may have been armed.
Okay, so did you cause investigations to take place? Did you, well, I mean, this must have taken you quite by surprise, Commissioner. You have counting of District 4 going on at Ashman's building, you knew that,
Yes, they were counted there.
right? And from what you are now telling us, you thought there may have been armed persons at the office of the returning officer for District 4. That's what you just said, correct?
I said that is correct.
So having realized this, did you then contact any of the officers of the 3 divisions there to say, listen, I think there are armed persons there and we must intervene to extract them?
As I said, I, as the Commissioner of Police, who was the overall superintendent of the force, decided that the ranks who were on standby at Breakdown Police Station be deployed to Ashman Building.
No, that's not my question, you know. I'm asking you, having appreciated or having told this commission under the oath that you thought that there may have been armed people there apart from police officers at the returning officer's office. Did you cause any of your officers there to go and search for those persons and extract them from the building?
As I've said earlier, I didn't say that, but I did testify that I made efforts to contact the commander. Had I contacted him, I would have given him some specific instructions in that regard.
Okay, well, not having contacted the commander, did you then tell Azor, who you put in charge, look, I think there are armed people on the premises, go and arrest them?
I never said that to Azor.
Did you say that to any of your deputies?
I didn't.
Did you call GCOM and say, listen to me, I think there are armed people at the place where counting is going on?
It wasn't necessary at the time.
But Mr. James Mondo, I don't understand. When you say it was not necessary, from your testimony so far, you just said that from the footage that you observed, there may have been persons, armed persons, other than police officers at Ashland Building.
Correct, sir.
As Commissioner of Police, having made that observation, whether rightly or wrongly so, what steps did you take at that point in time?
The first step I took,
Apart, you said you tried to contact the commander.
Correct.
Okay, that fell through.
That's right.
What was your next step?
My next step in the sequence of events were to have Azor take over the division.
Did you, in telling Azur to take over the building, did you advise him that of your observations, that there may be persons armed on the
Yes, sir.
compound?
I'm sure I may have
When you
passed that
say-
information to him.
No. You did.
I do not recall whether it was done, but I do think in my prudence, I may have said that to him.
Just now you said,
But I do not recall for sure if I did say it to him. But I did, that was expected of me, and I do believe in my prudence that I might have said that to him.
Mr. James, just now you said, I am sure that I told Mr. Azor that.
But, sir-
Then within moments, you shifted to say, out of prudence, I might have done that. It's a fundamental...
Well, for me to clarify,
One moment.
go ahead, sir.
One moment. There's a fundamental and a vast difference between I am sure that I did tell him that, to out of prudence, I might have told him.
Okay.
Do you agree there's a difference?
Of course it is.
Yes.
Could I explain, please, sir?
Yes, absolutely.
Very well. In order to clarify that query,
Mr. James, there is nothing that needs clarification. The chairman's question to you was clear. Did you tell Mr. Azor that you've come to the conclusion that there were persons who were armed while the counting was ongoing? Did you or didn't you? What is there to clarify, sir?
I'm checking my memory to determine if I did in fact say that to Azor. I want to be fair to myself and I want to be fair
Yeah,
to
well
Azor.
then, what does I am sure I did tell him?
Well, sir, I prefer it to be recorded as my testimony.
You want to recant that piece of evidence?
Yes.
You want to recant?
I prefer it to be recorded that I may have, in my prudence, say that to Azor.
Now, you said that you had spoken to the chairman of GCOM. How did this come about?
As I told you earlier in our discourse, based on what I was viewing, based on the information we received by me, I made several calls to the chair of GCOM, Honorable Justice, Madam Justice Claudette Singh.
Had she called you?
No, I don't remember receiving a call.
Had any of the special branch officers responsible for her safety present at Ashman's building with her called you?
No, it's an answer to your direct question, no.
Right. So you made several calls to her, and was this during the course of the day on the 5th?
Yes. And as I said, it's as a result of what I was seeing, live footage.
And could you tell us a little more about the nature of your conversation when you made those calls?
After making several calls to the chair of GCOM, she eventually answered the phone. And I told her what I was viewing. And she said to me that she was afraid because she was hearing persons calling for the chairman. We want the chairman, we want the chairman.
Right.
And she said she was alone there and she was afraid.
She was alone, but did she say where her bodyguards were?
No, I didn't ask her where her bodyguard because
But those are your officers. Why did you not ask?
I didn't ask because they are on duty and it's expected she could determine whether they should be in her room, just outside of the room, within the building. She will determine as the the person who...
Correct, but they are responsible to you, not so? The special branch officers are responsible to you.
I have overall command of the
Correct.
force, but they
Did
do
you-
have a head of department
Right?
who
So-
will be in charge of them.
Good, and
supervisors.
who was that head of department?
The then head of the special branch would have been Deputy Commissioner Nigel.
So having heard from the chairman that she was afraid, did you contact Mr. Hoppy?
No, that was not necessary.
Did you ask him to contact any of the officers who were actually on site and responsible for the protection of the commissioner?
I did not contact Ms. Hall. That was
Sorry,
not
the
necessary.
commissioner has a question for you.
Mr. James,
Yes, sir.
you took the initiative to call the chairperson.
Yes, sir. Based on the
Just
footage,
as-
based on the footage I've seen.
Yes, so you're seeing footage and you decided, look, let me speak with the chairperson.
Yes, sir.
The chairperson says to you, I am afraid, Commissioner, and I am alone. Two important things. I am afraid, and I am alone.
Yes.
You were seeing video footage. You are a trained policeman,
That's true, sir.
a senior official of GCOM who tells me, the head of the police force, I'm afraid, I am alone. You didn't make any inquiry about her security for that moment?
No, I don't think I have inquired from her as to her security. Because it was my expectation that her security detail
Actually, there was nobody to stand you down.
were to be there.
Mr. James?
Sorry. You said, Mr. James, that the security special branch had a commander or senior officer.
Yes, there's a head of
So
department.
having heard from the chairperson that she was alone and she was afraid, you did not think it necessary to call that officer to find out what is happening?
I didn't think it was necessary for me to do that.
But why do you keep saying you didn't think it was necessary? Why do you say you didn't think it was necessary?
Because it wasn't necessary.
But why wasn't it necessary? Here was the chair of GCOM telling you, I am afraid, I am alone. And you are saying to this commission today, it was not necessary to inquire about her security.
Two things,
Yes.
as I said. It is my understanding and expectation that the chair security detail must have been present, whether close by or within the precincts of that location. That is one. Two, the head of that department, there was no need for me to contact them because they were ranks on the ground there. There was a commander, there was expected to be a commander.
Or for one moment, having had the expectation, to use your language, that the security personnel assigned to the chair, they were either in the room or
In the building.
in the building or around, close by. But she was saying, I am alone.
Yes.
Did that convey to you that the security personnel were not in the room? I am alone.
Yes, that was conveyed. I understood that to mean that. When she said she was alone. Yes.
Why did you call the chairperson?
Based on what I was seeing on the television photos.
From what you were seeing, or by what you were seeing, aroused security concerns in your
Definitely, sir. Yes.
And so you called
And
her.
I called.
And in that call, she says, I am afraid and I am alone. For you, was that not a security issue in relation to the head of GCOM, the institution that is managing the elections? And you said,
Like I said, sir, we've had systems in place on the ground.
No, Mr. James, my inquiry is a little different. I know you had systems in place, seemingly not working because of the systems in place. You spoke of mayhem while you have systems in place.
That's correct.
You spoke of a conclusion that people have guns. So something seems wrong with the system, and in that context, you call the chairperson who says, I am afraid, I am alone.
Sir, if I may,
You certainly can.
what I was viewing and the reports that were being given to me, there was a breakdown of good order.
Mr.
That is
James,
one.
Mr. James, one moment.
Yes, sir.
Before you continue. These reports that were coming to you, I take it they were coming from your DCP operations.
That's true, sir.
Where was she located?
At police headquarters.
Did you inquire from her, from whom she received these reports?
As was said earlier, she was the liaison
Yes.
of with GCOM. So her information would be coming from various sources, including GCOM, I suppose.
Thank you. In fact, she was liaising with the commander of District 4. Was she not? Did she not tell you that?
Liaising with the commander of district.
Yes, Officer Edgar Thomas.
She
Did
was
Ms.
not,
Graham
she,
tell you?
her function not a liaison.
Well,
As a senior officer,
uh-huh.
she is to give directives, not necessarily a liaison. I would not use the
Well,
phrase liaison.
let us put it another way.
Yes.
Did Ms. Graham hide from you the fact that she had been communicating with Officer Thomas during the day of the 5th?
I would not say that she was hiding, hiding.
So she did tell you that she had been communicating with Officer Thomas on the day of the
With due
5th?
respect,
Will you answer the question, sir?
I'm answering for you.
Yes, please do.
There were communication prior with Mr. Thomas.
No, I'm asking you about the 5th. You've
Is
been
the 5th I'm
asked a
referring to?
direct question, will you answer it?
I am referring to the 5th.
Right.
And I'm saying to you that there were earlier communication with Mr. Thomas.
You
When
mean
you
Thomas and the DCP operations?
Certainly, yes, Commander. Thomas was being communicated with earlier.
Until
But as the
around
day
what time?
progressed,
When did it break down?
I don't recall the time with due
Well, I mean,
respect.
let's say so.
It would have been, it might have been approaching the mid hours, midday hours, or just after, as I remember.
That's before you monitored the video footage or after the video footage that you saw?
It would have been before.
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 When you called the GCOM chairperson,
Yes, sir.
did she ask you to send the tactical service unit ranks
No, sir.
into the building?
No, sir. No, sir.
So there was no request for police assistance from the GCOM chairperson?
No, sir.
But at that point in time, the Tactical Services Unit didn't have personnel at Ashman's building, correct?
At which point in time?
When you spoke to the chairman. Because you give them directions, you have
Yes,
not
I
given them directions to
don't
be
know.
there.
They would not have been there.
Right.
No.
But what you do know is you had ranks from breakdown there, inside and outside the building.
That's true.
What you do know is even though the chairman was saying that she was alone and afraid, you believed that the special branch officers were there.
As I said, they were expected to be present there, yes.
Right,
Based
so
on
you
the function.
believe they were there.
Yes, I do believe so.
So you had at least 2 sets of police personnel that on the ground that you could have directed to go to the chairman and provide her with assistance, correct? Did you or did you not?
Could you repeat the question? Please.
Okay, I'm going to break it down for you. You agree that there were ranks from Brickdom in and outside of Ashman's building on the 5th of March 2020, correct?
Yes, I agree.
You agree that despite the fact the commissioner, the chairman of GCOM said she was alone and afraid, you were of the belief that the special branch officers were outside or wrong.
I believe they would have been somewhere around, yes.
Right. So those persons would have been at the scene, correct?
Yes, expected.
Personnel of Tactical Services Unit were not at the scene, correct?
Correct.
Did you take any steps to have the persons under your command at the scene go to provide assistance for the security and safety of the chair?
Eventually, yes.
When you say eventually, can you tell us who you instructed, apart from the Tactical Services Unit, to go and provide security for her?
The then acting commander, Superintendent Azur, eventually escorted the chair of GCOM from that building, out of that building.
But was that on your instruction, sir?
It would have been, yes, yes, sir.
It would have been.
It was, that
on your
was my
instruction.
instruction, correct, sir.
So knowing that Deputy Azor was going to be escorting her out of the building, why did you give instructions to heavily armed Tactical Services personnel to return to Ashman's building?
As I said, I did mention earlier that in your question, and the respectful Commissioner's question, based on what I was viewing, I decided as Commissioner that that should be done, and that was done.
Okay, so, right. So you sending in Tactical Services Unit really, from what you've now told us, had nothing to do with the security of the chair.
In a general way, yes, it was part of the security. In a general way, yes,
But that
because
was-
the chair, please understand what I'm
Just a
saying.
second, sir. Please allow me to ask my questions.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
The chair was escorted from the building in the afternoon of the 5th of March.
Correct?
Tactical Services Unit, from what you have told us, had been sent in during the course of the morning and then later in the evening.
Correct?
So you sending in Tactical Services Unit, it is correct to say, had nothing to do with the chair of GCOM and her security.
Indirect answer to what you're asking, no. And if you allow me to further say,
Just a second. Now, in the evening, when the Tactical Services Unit returned to Ashman's building, are you aware that there were actually very few people remaining in Ashman's building?
I would not have known how many persons they would have been there.
So
for
what,
me to say,
what informed
being
you?
aware,
What informed you around, because I took you to the evidence of Officer Nurse, who says that sometime after 6 that evening, they received the instruction from you that they were to return to Ashman's building. So what informed you around 6 o'clock on the 5th of March 2020 to cause you to take that decision to send in heavily armed personnel from the Tactical Services Unit back to Ashman's building?
to secure the building,
For what purposes?
overall security, for the people who were there, for property that that were in there, etc.
But when the officers get there, you receive information that the commander for District 4 is there. That was brought to your attention
If
from
you were
the
to understand,
transcript.
prior efforts were made to contact that commander, and those efforts were all futile.
So is it that you had basically removed him from his posting, but he didn't know?
He knew eventually.
No, I'm asking, is it that you removed him from his posting and put Azor to take his place and he did not know?
That is correct. He would have been unaware that his command was taken. That's correct. Because he was not contacted, but if you respectfully follow the events, the DC ops were instructed to communicate the decision that he's no longer in command, because we did not want a conflict between himself and the person who stood up as the commander.
So you prefer to leave him there believing he was in command while you put somebody else in command? Would that not have led to conflict?
As I said,
Answer my question, please.
what is the question? Respectfully?
You are leaving a man in command from whom you have taken away the authority, but you've not told him. And you've put another person in his place. Did you not expect that that would lead to conflict?
As I said earlier, a directive was given by me to DC Ops to communicate to Mr. Thomas of my decision that he was relieved of command.
Mr. James, were you satisfied that before Senior Superintendent Azor took over, DC Operations had advised Mr. Thomas of your decision?
No, sir. No, sir. I don't think he was communicated at the time. In all fairness, I don't think, in all fairness to him, I do not think that he was communicated.
So
at that time.
Azor took over.
While he might have been ignorant of that decision, in all fairness to him.
And as counsel said a while ago, would that have been an awkward, very awkward situation?
It would have been an awkward position, but it was a decision that was required to be made. Because, as I said, based on what was happening, based on the need for somebody to be there in command, that decision was made.
You said that DC Operations was based at,
Police headquarters here.
in terms of distance, where is that in relation to the Ashman building?
That's on two extremes of the city. Police headquarters is close to the seawall, and Ashman is in central Georgetown. So in terms of distance, it would be a distance of approximately maybe 3.5 miles.
Yes, Mr.
Now, sir, did anyone apprise you of the fact that there had been a bomb scare at Ashman's building?
Yes, I was also apprised that there was a bomb
Who
scare.
apprised you of that?
I would have been apprised.
Not would have been.
I was apprised by the DC Ops. As I said, we have had constant communication.
Did she tell you who was the source of the information?
No, she didn't. And I don't think there was no need for her to say so, because at the time there was no need for
Do you know whether she received a complaint about a bomb scare from any GCOM official?
No, I don't know.
And I take it you are aware that no bomb or incendiary device was in fact found at Ashman's building on that day or
That-
any other day?
That was my information. Eventually, when the ranks checked, no bomb was found.
Now, just one or two things. Now, you have told us about quite a few things happening at police headquarters on the 5th of March 2020. Were records being kept of phone calls, information received, instructions given, that kind of thing?
Not necessarily phone calls, but
Everything else?
telephone network communication, that were being recorded.
Okay. And if you gave instructions to, well, we had WhatsApp in those days. If you gave instructions via WhatsApp or so on, text messages, those would have been recorded.
Yes, the telephone, if it was done via that medium, it is expected to be in the record. It would be on the record.
And as
That is the way the telephone provider.
Commissioner of Police, see mayhem at a place where votes in an election are being counted. I take it you would have been making your own record, correct?
Of course, I was making continuous
And
records.
those records, we are only here, well, perhaps 2 years and a few months later. You still have those records?
No, I don't have any police
But
records.
those records should be there at police headquarters.
That is expected, it should
Where
be
did
there,
you
yes.
make those records?
I made it in my diary, and I was also making it in other, like on a notepad.
Sure, and there will be correspondence sent out afterwards which referred to the events of that day, not so?
Naturally so, yes.
Yes. So all the correspondence you sent to various stakeholders will be at police headquarters, correct?
In a natural course of things, that is true, yes.
Yes, and what would be the unnatural course of things?
Well, they said the usual communication.
Correct. Now, Tactical Services Unit, like any other division of the police force, also is supposed to keep records of what it does and which instructions it acts upon and that kind of thing, correct?
The Tactical Services Unit,
Yeah. Isn't each unit supposed to keep records? The police force is all about record keeping.
no, you need to be more specific. Which aspect of Tactical Services Unit you refer to?
I don't know, you tell me, you were the former
Ma'am, you're asking a
commissioner.
question.
So,
Respectfully.
yes. Does Tactical Services Unit have to keep any records at all?
Tactical Services Unit has the station diary. They also have occurrence book. They also have arms book, among several other books.
Okay. And
But if you're speaking, if I may,
no, that's good enough.
Okay.
So we can move on from there. So is there any reason why those records would now not be available?
I don't know that. I don't know that, to be fact.
They should be available, not so?
Of course, all police records that were made ought to be available,
Thank you very
because
much.
it is a professional police force that is in charge of.
Yes. Commissioners, unless there is any other area that you wish me to address?
James, going back to Mr. Thomas, did you see Mr. Thomas on the 5th of March?
No,
See
sir.
him?
No, sir.
Did you speak to him at all on the 5th of March?
I may have spoken to Mr. Thomas, and it being to the best of my recollection, earlier in the day as required. Because all divisional commanders are required to report to the Commissioner of Police daily.
What was the relationship like between yourself and Mr. Thomas? Was it a strange relationship?
Professional, purely professional.
Purely
In
professional.
fact, I would call Mr. Thomas a friend. And I expect him to say the same thing of me.
And this friend, professional, you're unable to contact him. Does it cause you any concern that here you're calling him several times?
Definitely, I was a bit concerned because this is the commander, sir. We are in a crisis situation, and he was unavailable.
And
I had to take action.
And the action you took was to tell also to take command.
No, I didn't. The
No, you said you told DCP operations.
That's right.
But
That is a chain of command.
right, you told DCP operations. But prior to DCP operations communicating with Mr. Thomas, you said Azor took command. Prior to the DCP operations.
What I recall saying, in all fairness to Mr. Thomas, he may have been ignorant of the change in command that was made,
What does that mean, he may have been ignorant?
of the decision that was made.
What do you mean by he may have been ignorant? Did the DCP operations inform him of your decision before Mr. Azor took command? That is my question.
No, sir. In all fairness to Mr. Thomas, it wasn't. In all fairness to him.
So the situation was the officer under him takes over and he's unaware of it. That is what it's happened.
That is what happened.
Later that day, did you speak to him about why you took that decision?
No, sir. It was some time after, maybe a few days after, I caused him to be summoned to the office of the commissioner, the conference room,
Yes.
and we've had an inquiry. I had the presence of the 4 deputy commissioners of police and myself, and Thomas was given a hearing.
When you said inquiry into what?
Into the reason for his conduct.
What conduct you speaking
Well,
about?
he, as the divisional commander, he was not contacted. He abandoned his division, he abandoned all of his ranks, and naturally as commissioner, I sought to hear from
This
him.
is the first we're hearing about that he abandoned his ranks.
Well, if he wasn't being commanded, it amounts to being
No, I
abandoned
thought-
his division, sir.
One moment, Mr. James. You, in your capacity as commissioner, is trying to contact the commander.
Yes, sir.
You cannot reach him.
Correct, sir.
It doesn't follow from that he has abandoned his ranks
In my view, it amounts to that.
or his conduct, or he's guilty of some level of misconduct.
I cannot say he was guilty,
No, but I mean that is
but I'm
conduct is
saying
called into
to
question.
you,
But
Mr.
you don't know
Thomas,
you don't know the reason why you couldn't reach him.
that is why I caused him to be summoned to police headquarters, where I sought, in the presence of the 4 deputy commissioners of police, to hear from him why he wasn't contacted.
That's quite different from his conduct.
But you've already relieved him of his command when you're conducting this hearing.
That's right, but sir,
So you relieve him of his command, and then several days after you want to hear him.
naturally, because he, as I said, there are steps that are required, because Thomas, as an assistant commissioner, the police service commission is expected to take or to investigate breaches of this.
No, that's.
And it's for those purposes that I have caused that.
I want to take you back to you're relieving him of his command.
Yes, sir.
The sense conveyed by your evidence today is, and that's all you said about him, he was not contactable, either by phone or by radio.
Correct.
You don't know why.
I don't know.
The sense conveyed from your evidence is that for this reason, Thomas was relieved of his command. Because you haven't said anything else.
For that and in the interest of security. he was relieved of command. It's on purely in the interest of security, of the personnel there, the property, and the general activity. He was relieved.
One more, Mr. James. You can't contact him. What made you come to the conclusion that there was some security interest that demanded that Thomas be relieved of his command?
Sir, there is a report of a bomb being in the building.
No, which
From
day?
what-
Which day?
That's on the 5th of March, sir.
On the 5th of March?
Yes, sir. From what I was viewing, television footage, various television channels, what I was seeing there required action by the person who was in command of that location, and that was sadly lacking.
You're not aware that a team went there and scoured the building?
At a point, sir.
At some point in time.
Of course, and I learned that there was no bomb. No bomb was found.
No bomb was found.
No bomb was found.
Did you hear? Do you know of a Miss Myers attached to the elections committee?
Yes, sir.
Who was she?
She is the deputy in charge of that.
Deputy Chief
Yes,
Election.
deputy chief.
Did you have a talking relationship with this person?
Never ever spoken to that
Never,
person.
never spoke to her.
Directly or indirectly.
Are
Never
you,
spoken.
are you aware that Miss Myers showed a device to one of your officers, which was in a styrofoam container, something that looked like a camera with a lens, and felt that that might be a bomb?
I'm unaware, sir.
Unaware.
I'm
And you
unaware.
were concerned about security.
If it was brought to my attention, obviously it would have been aware. That was not brought to my
Isn't
attention.
this a major event? You are concerned that there was a bomb scare, so you're removing this man from command. Something which is considered to be a bomb is found, handed over to one of your police officers, and you're unaware?
Yes, I was unaware.
Really, I understand there was nobody to stand you down. Now I want to go back to Ms. Myers. The police force had liaison with GCOM.
Correct, sir.
Through whom?
Through the very Miss Myers, I think.
No. Ms. Myers can't be a liaison by herself. Who from the police force was liaising with Ms. Myers?
As I said that earlier. DC operations, Ms. Maxine Graham, she was the liaison with the person at that chief.
And you received reports from
From
Ms.
Maxine, that's correct.
So you were being briefed constantly on all developments taking place at GCOM.
I would say developments generally.
Why you want to qualify that?
So because you said all developments,
Yes.
and for me to say all developments, I might be going in an area that I might not sufficiently be able to explain.
You mean like if the cleaner swept the floor, that would be all the developments, it would be included in the developments at GCOM. You must know that I'm not speaking of inconsequential events.
Now that you've clarified it, sir, I can respond to that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Now, were you made aware that Ms. Myers wanted the GCOM building on the 5th to be vacated? Vacated. She wanted everybody out of the building.
No, I'm unaware, sir.
You're unaware.
I'm unaware that Miss Myers wanted the building to be vacated.
Mr. James, sorry.
Are you aware that Ms. Myers reported to Ms. Graham that Commander Thomas was not complying with her instructions to have the building vacated?
To the best of my recollection, no, sir.
Now, before the TSU arrived there, special branch officers were sent to that building.
I'm unaware of special branch ranks being sent to that location. The head of special branch may be the person to determine that, because that was not brought to my attention.
Now, so you're completely unaware that special branch had a presence in the building?
That would be unfair or untruthful for me to say, because I am aware that the
I'm only
chair-
asking you, Mr. James,
Yeah,
if you were aware that special branch officers had a presence in the GCOM
Yes,
building.
I am aware, and if I to qualify that, those special branch ranks, as far as I am concerned, would have been the security detail for the chair of GCOM.
No, that's what, I'm not speaking about the security detail for the chair of GCOM. I'm speaking about special branch officers who entered the Ashman's building on the 5th and concealed themselves in the building.
I'm unaware of that, sir. I'm unaware of that.
Did Miss Graham ever, well, you said that Miss Graham never told you that Miss Myers wanted the building vacated.
As far as I remember, no.
Could it be that she told you and you don't remember?
It could be that too. But as far as I remember, I don't think she told me that.
Now, do you know police officers, DSP Clifton David and ASP Ali?
Yes, I'm aware of those two ranks.
They are from the Tactical Services Unit.
Correct, sir.
Are you aware that on the 5th of March, they went to the Ashman's building?
Yes, because they would have been part of the riot unit.
They would have had to be sent there by you.
Indirectly, yes.
You can send somebody indirectly.
Well, to explain what I mean is, I did not speak with them, the two of them personally. The instruction would have been given to the head of TSU, or OC TSU, which would be Mr. Norris, and he would have relayed that instruction.
So you gave instructions to Nurse.
Yes, sir.
Please send your officers over to the Ashman's building.
That is it.
To do what?
To secure the building, sir.
Can you explain what you mean by securing the building?
As I said, based on what the reports that they were having,
No.
and
What did you mean by securing the building, and did you give that explanation to Nurse, or that meaning?
yes, I told him there is a breakdown in law and order, and there are potential damage to property, and perhaps person may be injured. So I've given that directive for him to go there and secure the building.
What do you mean by secure the building?
Well, in his training, in the person who's in charge
I'm
of that,
asking you what you meant
okay,
when you gave the instruction.
to take all necessary steps to secure the personnel, the ranks there, because I haven't said this before, but from my observation, ranks on duty were being assaulted, verbally and physically. Property were being damaged. All of that I observed from the national and based on that, based on the call that I made to the chair, I made the decision for the ranks to go there and ensure law and order is maintained, and to generally secure that location. That was my duty as Commissioner of Police.
Okay.
One of my duties as Commissioner.
No, please go ahead.
Yes. I'll be a few questions. Now, Mr. James, you tell us clearly your instructions were to the TSU to go and secure personnel and property.
Yes, sir.
Are you aware that when the TSU ranks went to the Ashlands building, they were calling on persons to vacate the building?
I said so in my earlier testimony, and that I became aware of that after seeing a footage.
So, vacating the premises, the property, was not your instructions. That persons should vacate was not your instructions to the TSU rank.
My instructions were to see.
No. Please answer me.
No,
Yes,
no.
yes or no?
It wasn't, sir.
It was not.
Yes, sir.
But you are seeing footage of TSU ranks ordering people to vacate.
I did say in my earlier testimony, at the time when I viewed the persons being asked to leave, it was subsequent. It was, in other words, the footage were being viewed after the happening of what actually took place. It wasn't a live footage that I saw.
So what you call mayhem was subsequent.
No, with respect.
The mayhem was live.
That's right, it was being live, but
But
later I saw the footage where the officer and ranks from the unit, they were asking, I saw that, and I mean, quite honestly,
You were seeing a live relay of what you describe as mayhem.
Yes, sir.
But in relation to the TSU ranks who were directing people out of the building, you were seeing post-event footage.
From what I saw, it was a post-event.
Oh, how come there was a shift in transmission?
I am unaware of that. I'm unaware.
Okay. Now, there was a clear violation of your instructions,
Clearly, yes, sir.
and you had
That
communicated
by Mr. Thomas.
by Mr. Nurse,
Mr.
by
Nurse.
David and Ali. You are aware that David and Ali were the officers who went with the TSU ranks to the Ashlands building.
I wouldn't use the word or phrase violation, because when those ranks may have gotten on the ground,
One moment. Why is the word violation not appropriate to the circumstance? You give clear instructions. Please send TSU ranks to secure the building. You then see the ranks ordering people out of the building, which was not in keeping with your instructions. Clearly your instructions were violated, don't you agree? Yes or no?
yes, I agree.
Okay. What did you do? Recognizing that your instructions were violated at whatever point in time.
I didn't do nothing.
Okay.
There was no need for me to do anything at that point.
There's no need for
No, sir.
you. Commissioner of Police, your instructions are violated and there is no need for you to do anything. Thank you. You don't need to say anything.
Very well.
Thank you very much. Now, you said that if Thomas told this commission that he tried calling you several times, that would be untrue.
I can't know whether well, let's repeat that, please, sir.
You said, well, let me put it another way.
Yes.
Thomas never called you.
I think, yes, Thomas subsequently may call to me.
No, I'm speaking on the 5th of March.
Yes, the 5th of March, I'm speaking about all the time.
Yeah.
And I did saw calls coming to, but it wasn't necessary for me to speak with Thomas because we already made a decision as though wasn't the ground taking action and things like that. So there was no need for me to speak with Thomas anymore. He was relieved of command.
I mean, you relieve him of command and you don't find any necessity to speak with him?
Correct, sir.
Even a courtesy to say,
I would have spoken to him, and I did speak with him at a subsequent time in the
No.
office as I testified already.
no, I'm not speaking about that. On the 5th, are you denying that Thomas tried to call you?
I am not denying it. I'm saying to you, sir, that I did saw Thomas calling me, but it wasn't necessary for me to speak with Thomas at that time.
So you declined to take his
I
call?
declined to take his call.
Thank you. Are you aware that because you didn't answer him, Mr. Thomas called Ms. Graham and told her that he was leaving the post?
I'm unaware of that.
Ms. Graham never told you that he called her and said that he was leaving the post?
I'm unaware of that, sir. I'm unaware of that.
Do you know the name Says Gunraj?
Yes, says Gunraj is a G company.
Why are you volunteering? I only ask you if you know
Oh,
the
I'm
name.
sorry. I'm sorry. Sir.
Yes, you know Says Gunraj. And yes, indeed, he is a member of the Elections Commission. Do you know whether there was an issue about getting Says Gunraj out of the Ashlands building?
I'm unaware, sir.
Even now as you speak, you're...
I was asked that earlier by the council, and I'm unaware.
Even now you're unaware?
No, I read sometime might have been in the press that there was somewhere I learned that there was some talk between Mr. Thomas and Mr. Gunraj.
Was that a significant issue for you as commissioner, that there was an effort to evict a commissioner from the building, an elections commissioner? Was that a major issue?
These were subsequent events. When I learned of that,
Mr. James, what was my question?
if it was a significant
Yeah, I didn't
event,
ask you if it was a present or subsequent event.
it was
Please
significant.
answer.
It was a significant.
Yes. Would you deny that it was not until the 6th of March that Ms. Graham advised Mr. Thomas that he was no longer in command?
I would deny it if Graham were to say that.
No,
I would
they've
deny
never seen Ms. Graham.
it. I would deny it.
You wouldn't deny it. Are you aware that Mr. Thomas was transferred to patrol duty,
I directed that he be transferred to patrol duties.
and that was because you couldn't contact him?
Among other things.
But he called you on the
After
5th.
decision was made to have him removed.
But you took the decision because you could not contact him.
Correct?
Now, let me ask you, you're aware that there was, as you described it, your impression was there was crisis at Ashland's building.
It was a security crisis, yes, sir.
Do you know what was the reason for this circumstance arising?
No, I don't have that. What was the circumstances?
Now, do you know?
No, I can see. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you understand?
There was some issue pertaining to, I just want to be clear, There was some issue pertaining to.
I don't seem to be sure, Mr. James.
No,
Well, if you're not sure, tell us.
No,
I
sir.
will understand.
I want to give a response that is factual. So I'm just trying to recollect. You've asked me a question. I'm
Sure,
just
take your time. Take your time.
It has to do, or it had to do with the issue of, I think, the person in charge of Region 4 attempting to do something with regard to a disclosure or something in that regard. But it was some apparent action or conduct of a GCOM official which was not necessarily supportive of the person who, if I can summarize it as such.
Yes. Did it ever cross your mind, or was it ever a thought, that given this crisis situation, the commander could have been very actively involved in controlling this circumstance, and that's the reason why you couldn't attack him? Was that a thought? That only requires a yes or no
No,
answer.
it wasn't a thought.
It was
because
not.
I
It was not a thought, Mr.
Otherwise.
Chair.
No, it wasn't a thought. I
Thank
was
you, sir.
advised otherwise.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I'm afraid I have to put this to you. Did you call Mr. Thomas on the 5th and tell him that you wanted the GCOM building vacated?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Questions. Mr. Chief, will you accept that at all material times on the 5th of March, prior to the chief, Mr. Commander Thomas was on duty at the Ashman building? Put another way, did you get any information that Commander Thomas had left the building?
Subsequently.
What do you mean that?
Subsequently, because I saw, because I keep viewing
When is it
provisions.
subsequently?
That is true, sir. Because I saw Thomas,
One moment.
Yes, sir.
You say subsequently, what do you mean by that? I asked you, do you accept that at all material time, on the 5th of March, Commander Thomas was on duty at the Ashman building?
That is not so.
So he's not on duty.
No,
I'm
sir.
thinking up until, of course, you stood him down.
No, sir.
He was not on duty.
No, he was not.
Okay. And you did anything? Did you inquire where he was or anything at that meeting?
I inquired.
Mr. James, I just wanted to make sure that I recorded this correctly mentally. You've pinned part of your decision to send in the TSU on the mayhem. You've gone back to that several times you observed. And I think at some point of your testimony, you mentioned you saw officers being verbally and physically abused, and you saw property being damaged.
Yes, sir.
You saw this on the live feed.
On the footage, yes, sir.
Anything else you observed as part of the mayhem that caused you to make the decision?
I saw attempts by persons to reach the chair of GCOM, our office.
Oh, you saw that too?
Yes, that was being shown on live television.
You saw a group of people. What did you see?
Yeah, I saw a number of persons, perhaps about over 30 persons, which in my view
Live.
can be likened to be attempting to storm the office of the chair of chief. And as commissioner, I take the necessary action in my
With your leave, commissioners, I just have a few more questions.
Yes.
Now, so you say...
Before we go with respect, with your permission, please, Chief, Chair, I, as Commissioner, former Commissioner of Police, I want to publicly, because this is a public hearing, I would like to respectfully congratulate, compliment the performance of all those ranks who worked on election day and during the period of election. I wasn't being able to relay that to the staff. I just wish for them to be so.
Thank you very much, Mr. James.
Thank you. Mr. James, you remained a commissioner until July 2020, correct?
That's correct, ma'am.
And did you take the opportunity before July to congratulate your ranks on the good job they did?
Prior to,
Yes,
No.
prior to your departure.
I was unable to do that.
Okay, so thank you for correcting that oversight. Now, you told us that you had been monitoring what was going on in the media on the 5th.
Yes, generally. Yes.
So I take it you also saw that international and local observers were issuing statements about what was happening at Ashman's building, correct?
I saw the presence of observers. Not,
You
I
didn't,
didn't hear any disclosure being made by.
Did you hear any international observers speaking to the media on the 5th?
I think I may have, yes.
Yes. And did any of those international observers complain about mayhem, or did they complain about a declaration being made before the counting was finished?
I know for sure there was no complaint of mayhem.
Okay.
Okay?
And
By any
having,
international observer. I don't
Okay.
recall any of them made such a disclosure on national television.
Sure. Now, with respect to local observers, did you see or hear any of them on the media on the 5th?
No. Those disclosures were being made or were being described by the media personnel on the ground. They were making statements as to what they were seeing or what they were viewing, and as if the footage were being
Did the media also speak about a declaration being made before counting was finished?
Yes. That was part of
So I take it these two separate issues were raised both by the media and by international observers, and you took steps to look into the issue of what you describe as the mayhem, correct?
Correct.
What steps did you take to look into the other matter?
Which other matter?
That is to say, the matter pertaining to what had occurred at District 4. Any?
I didn't take any action. Then,
Did you take any action before July 2020?
no.
Thank you.
Mr. James,
Yes, sir.
are you aware that in that counting process and the developments unfolding, an approach was made to the court for an order in the court? That there were legal proceedings filed.
Subsequently, yes, I know that.
Are you aware that police officers prevented marshals of the court from serving an order of the court on a Mr. Mingo of the Elections Commission?
I'm unaware of that, sir. I'm
If-
unaware of that.
If that was so, that's not something you would want to congratulate your officers for, would it?
Certainly not.
In relation to the bomb threats, are you aware that a man was arrested and taken to the Brickland police station?
Yeah, I think there might have been an arrest, yes.
You think, Mr. James?
I am trying to recollect
Yes.
to the best of my ability.
Please.
I do believe that
Please
someone...
pause and think about it. It's an important issue. It was an important issue for you. It was a security issue.
Yes, I remembered someone was arrested.
What became of that investigation?
I'm unaware, sir.
And you made any inquiries about it?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. James. Thank you for attending.
Mr. James, thank you.
Most welcome, sir.
Appreciate it. You are relieved from attendance.
Commissioners, another person has answered to a
Yes,
summons
sir.
served, but I have not yet had the opportunity
Okay,
to
so we
speak
could
to.
take the luncheon break
Yes.
and resume at 1:01. So we say we 2 o'clock.
If I need more time, well, this might be a bit fluid.
One moment.
You might need a little more time.
I may, yes.
Mr. George, in the circumstances,
Yes.
given the fact that you have had an opportunity to speak to Mr. Asso, we are minded to adjourn to tomorrow morning.
Certainly. If, for example, a statement has to be taken,
Yes,
it
we don't know
will
what is.
definitely take more time.
That's certain.
Yes.
So the hearing is now adjourned to tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.